Welcome back to The Haunted Beard, everybody. My name is Jake. Thank you for joining me. Today, I'm talking True Detective Night Country Episode 2. And some pretty big things happen, shocking things happen in the latest episode. I want to get into it, talk about it, give you just a little bit of a review, breakdown, just some thoughts, maybe some guesses and predictions as far as what the heck is going on. But yeah, that's what we're doing. Let's get into it. So episode 2 did two main things. And number one is that it solidified itself as a direct sequel to season 1 by providing many direct connections. And number two is it continually reinforced the supernatural element. Now, as the episode starts off, we see Danvers and the crew trying to get all the naked, frozen bodies out of the ice, while Navarro, who's standing off in the back, has a conversation with Rose, which eventually leads them to Rose's house, and they start talking about Travis, which is the man from the first episode, the ghost that she sees who initially directed her to the men in the ice. And we learn that Rose has been seeing Travis for quite some time. And in fact, she sees ghosts fairly often. And we learn that seeing ghosts is somewhat of a common thing in Enos. We learn that Travis and Rose were in a relationship and that Travis was dying of leukemia. But the main big reveal that we learn is that Travis's last name was Cole. And we all know that Matthew McConaughey's name was Detective Rust Cole. And so it seems pretty clear that Travis is indeed McConaughey's father. Another thing that I picked up in this scene that I think will be of some importance perhaps in further episodes is Rose makes a statement about not confusing the spiritual world with mental health, as Navarro has concerns with her sister's deteriorating mental health, that she is also seeing things as well. And Rose makes that statement, and she also says that you need to know that the ghosts, they will come for reasons. Sometimes they come to you because they miss you. Other times they'll come because they want to tell you something or they have something they need to tell you. But then sometimes they'll come to you because they want to take you with them. Another event that occurs later on in the episode that provides another direct link to season 1 happens when Pete Pryor is talking with Danvers about who is providing the financial support and funding the Tsalal research station. And he drops a name called Tuttle. And in season 1, the Tuttle family were the ringleaders of the death cult that was killing everybody. And so there is, again, this obvious connection between season 1 to season 4. And what exactly does that mean is going on? We're still a little unclear, but obviously we have reason to be very concerned about the company that is funding the Tsalal research station. And we have reason to be concerned about what exactly were they doing and what exactly was going on there. And the final direct connection to season 1 involves the spiral symbol that was virtually all over the place in episode 2. It's first seen on one of the scientists' foreheads when they're trying to excavate them. But then one of the big reveals was that the spiral also showed up in tattoo form on one of the scientists' bodies, Clark, the main scientist. But then not only that, it also was tattooed on Annie K. And when Danvers contacted the tattoo company, she was sent the photos, and we see the photo of Clark and Annie K together, which very clearly implies that there was some sort of romantic relationship between them, and thereby further establishes a direct connection between Annie K and the scientists at the Tsalal research station. And then obviously towards the very end of the episode, Navarro and Danvers break into Clark's trailer where he would take Annie K for their meetups because he's trying to keep it a secret. And they break into the trailer and they see all sorts of craziness, the little straw dolls, the animal bones, the gigantic spiral on the ceiling. And it's not made explicitly clear what the spiral represents. However, we know that from season 1, It was the symbol that was used by the satanic cult that was put on some of the victims' bodies. And it seems that it has some sort of supernatural connotations or symbolism connected to it. Whether it be something demonic or supernatural or witchcraft is still a little bit unclear, but again, there is this very clear supernatural element going on here, which leads me into my second main thing, is that this episode, again, just reinforces very heavily the supernatural element going on. So not only in episode 2 do we learn that Rose has visions of the ghosts and of the dead people, we learn that it's pretty commonplace. One of the scenes where Pete Pryor is interviewing the food supplier, he mentions how he has seen something at the Tsalal research station when he was there in the first episode. And he makes the statement that it's a long night, even the dead get bored. And so we just learned that seeing ghosts and stuff in the night is a very common thing in Enos. And so when you combine that element with the symbol of the spiral, and then also looking at the condition of the bodies and how difficult it is proving for Pryor and Danvers to come up with some sort of natural explanation. Again, it certainly seems that we're headed into supernatural territory. And I'm going to kind of make a little bit of a prediction here, kind of speculate a little bit. But one of the big things that we learn also in episode 2 is early in the episode, Danvers interrupts a school classroom to talk to this guy named Bryce. And we get some further insight into what exactly the scientists were doing at Tsalal. And he says that the scientists were trying to sequence the DNA of an extinct microorganism that could stop cellular decay, potentially cure cancer, help with autoimmune issues and various types of diseases. And so now I'm going to kind of go out on a limb here and give a little bit of a prediction, but it seems to me that the scientists obviously unleashed something from the ice, and whether it is something more natural, like some sort of parasite that infected all of them, is a possibility. But again, with all these heavy supernatural implications, it seems that they unlocked something supernatural, something evil, some sort of evil presence or entity, something demonic perhaps. All right, had audio issues, so needed to re-record this little part here. But anyways, here is my official prediction, and I fully expect to get to the end of this season and look back on this and shake my head because I'm going to be totally and completely wrong, but what the heck. So here's what I think is going on. I think there exists some sort of evil demonic entity in the native spirituality, local folklore type thing. And I think that perhaps all the scientists, or for sure Clark and probably Annie K, were like worshiping this entity. I think when Clark says she's awake, it's because they've unleashed that entity from the ice. It's not something that just exists in the mythology and in the spiritual. It like actually exists. And I think either one of two things happened. So I think in addition to doing scientific research, something darker is clearly going on, what with Tuttle funding the station. I think that Annie K, something in her relationship with Clark soured, and I think she threatened to, to whistleblow, so to speak, and tell everybody, and either, and he killed her, or perhaps the evil entity required some kind of sacrifice to appease it, and maybe Annie K was the one sacrificed to this entity in some sort of, ritualistic type thing. So who knows? Just my thoughts as of right now. Let me know what you guys think. Now, in addition to those two main things that I think we get out of episode 2, there are a few other things of note that I want to talk about. The first thing is that there is some sort of water contamination thing going on, and that was perhaps very lightly hinted at in episode 1, but I think it is further kind of cemented in this episode as we get the scene in the bar where one of the bar patrons, there's this fight that breaks out. One of the bar patrons yells out, "You're poisoning your own kids." And then Kavik tells Navarro that the water is very clearly contaminated, and the people who are living closer to the mine have like just straight up black water. And so there is clearly a water contamination issue going on here. What exactly that plays in the kind of larger story and the larger role of things is a little unclear. It maybe could possibly be related to why maybe some people are seeing ghosts, or, you know, does it have any sort of direct connection with Tsalal? It's still unclear. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm keeping that in the back of my mind because there's something going on there. The second thing of note involves Hank, who is one of the police officers played by John Hawkes, and I feel very confident in saying this guy is shady. He is not trustworthy. He's got secrets. He's hiding something. And in this episode, we're introduced to Kate McKittrick, who is the owner of the mine. She bumps into Hank at the skating rink, and they seem very friendly, perhaps too friendly, like there's some sort of relationship past going on there. And so I just kind of got vibes from that scene. And then when Hank discovers that Annie Kay's case file had been stolen by his son Pete out of the house, obviously his reaction, he smacks Pete and you know, gives him the whole "she's not family, blood is blood." And so he's very clearly hiding something. He has secrets, perhaps was directly involved in Annie Kay's death or knows who did it and is covering for somebody, but I definitely don't trust him. Something's going on with him. And then finally, the last thing of note involves a couple of the flashbacks that we get in this episode, which gives us a little bit more context to Danvers and her kid. And I believe his name is Holden, as we cut to a flashback where she is laying next to Holden and they're kind of playing after she sees the polar bear again with one eye. And she's playing with Holden. He's got one of his eyes covered up. And of course, the song "Twist and Shout" by the Beatles is playing in the background, which is a link back to the first episode with the Ferris Bueller scene when they first got to the Tsalal station. And so giving us a little bit more insight. Clearly, her child has died. And so she faced some sort of major tragedy in life, and still don't really know exactly what to make out of the one-eyed polar bear, but something's going on there. And then we get a little bit of background just very briefly with Navarro as she is driving down the highway listening to Spice Girls, and then finds a gold necklace with a cross on it, which triggers a memory of some of the trauma that she experienced with her mother in her past. You can see her there as a younger kid holding what I would assume is her sister, as her mom, wearing that necklace, is also freaking out, and she throws the necklace out the window. And so just giving us a little more background and context into some of the characters. So overall, really like this episode as well. I like so far where they're taking the story. I think there's a lot of little clues and Easter eggs to pick up on, which I quite enjoy. Got some pretty couple shocking moments when the guy came alive at the beginning of the episode in the ice was pretty shocking and crazy. I really liked the scene at the ice rink between Pryor and Danvers, where they have all the photos laid out and they're trying to ask the right questions. And yeah, I don't know. I just found that really fascinating in just kind of the whole police procedural aspect of it, of trying to put together the clues, and solving a mystery is all about asking the right questions. I also just really like Jodie Foster's performance. I like her character, and it feels weird saying that because she's not a pleasant person, but her character is interesting, and I like kind of following her around. And she's obviously rough around the edges. She is not a very pleasant person, but I think Jodie Foster is just doing really good with the character. And so, yeah, overall, definitely still on board. Very interested and intrigued to see where they take it, and definitely looking forward to episode 3. So hit me up down below. Let me know your thoughts on episode 2. Give me some of your breakdowns and opinions and predictions and theories and all that stuff. Would love to hear from you. So definitely come back here for episode 3, because I will be doing another video breakdown for it. So once again, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you next time on The Haunted Beard.